This one's gonna get you guys. Before we get into it though, I did wanna let you guys know that this video is for educational purposes only. Please remember to be kind to everybody everywhere in your everyday life, in your home, in the grocery store, and especially in the comment section down below. Please do not show hate to anybody, anywhere. Good morning, my lovelies, my beauties, my friends. My name is Christina and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, thank you so much for clicking on this video. I really hope that you will subscribe, stick around, take a chance in hearing some things that I have to say. And if you are a returning subscriber, y'all already know, y'all are my babies. So good morning, good morning, good morning. How is everybody doing today? I hope you all are having an amazing day. I hope you all have had a wonderful week so far. You guys, summer passed by so quick. It's already the middle of July. I mean, the kids go back to school next month here in Florida. Whoa. So in today's video, we are going to be talking about a situation of a young woman named Brittany Booker out of Wisconsin. So this is Brittany Booker right here. And as you guys can probably see, she is stunningly beautiful, like gorgeous. But that's not the only thing about Brittany. Brittany was also a very well-loved and known young lady in her community. She had a big family. She has a father that loves her so much. She had cousins that she grew up with that she was so super close with. And she was most well known for being a wonderful mother. See, Brittany at 30 years old had 6 beautiful children ranging from the ages of 2 to 13. Before we go any further, I did want to stop and thank today's sponsor, Liquid IV. Liquid IV is a great tasting electrolyte drink mix that is perfect for staying hydrated. Y'all know I am always telling y'all to drink y'all's water, and drinking just one Liquid IV hydration multiplier hydrates you 2 times faster and more efficiently than water alone. Some of y'all may not know, but me and my family, we have been sick lately. We have actually had COVID, and I have been so thankful to have my Liquid IV packets at the house so I can make sure to stay hydrated. Their new golden cherry flavor, oh my gosh, I've been drinking it every day. So delicious. For those of y'all that were here with me in 2019, I got the flu and I ended up getting dehydrated and I was hospitalized for my dehydration and it was horrible. I got the worst. They say it's a dehydration headache, honey, but it was, I can't even describe to you. It was so incredibly painful. I never, ever want to experience that again. And since that, I have been making sure that I am always hydrated. And since I've had COVID, you know, I'm like sweating for no reason. And so I've been drinking my Liquid IV to make sure I'm staying hydrated. And thankfully, I have been on the up and up and I've been doing good. But it's not just me. Let me tell you guys, a lot of y'all also know that our oldest son, Jordan, who is 21, is in the Air Force now. And I was FaceTiming him not long ago and I was asking him about like his supplements and stuff he takes, protein powders and all that stuff. And he told me that he was taking Liquid IV. Yes, and I'm telling you, these guys are out there. They have their backpacks on with like 40 to 80 pounds. They're walking 8 miles at a time, pouring sweat, and even he is using Liquid IV. If you guys want to try Liquid IV, you can just click the link down in the description box. And if you use code RANDALL15, you will save 15% off of your total purchase. Did you hear that? 15%, yes. And you can also find Liquid IV in Costco too. So go and get yours today and stay hydrated. Thanks again, Liquid IV. People would say that when you saw Brittany with her 2-year-old little girl, she was always on her hip. Like that was mama's little girl. Brittany has a lot of people that love her and support her. See, Brittany wasn't just an amazing family member and a mother, but she was also a really good friend. Like the best of friend. Matter of fact, when I went looking down social media accounts, I saw different people like, you know, that's my best friend. That's my best friend. Like she was just so loved and such a good friend. But this is the question I want to ask y'all before we get into this video. What would you do for your friend? How far would you go to protect your friend, your best friend? How far would you go to protect your children? Like, what would you do? What lengths would you go to protect your babies. So let's just bring it back to February of this year, 2022. Brittany Booker's really good friend was going through a bad relationship. There was some physical stuff. There was a lot of issues going on. And I want to let you guys know real quick that the friend's name has not been released to the public for privacy reasons, and you guys will know why later when we get in the video. So I'm going to refer to her as Brittany's friend or friend, and you guys know who I'm talking about. I'm not trying to be disrespectful at all. Her name has been kept out of everything. So Brittany knew that her friend was really going through a bad situation with this guy named Terry Jackson. So this is Terry Jackson. Now, Terry Jackson has got a reputation like, whoa, okay? Matter of fact, he was actually arrested earlier this year for some substance charges, and he had been bonded out of jail, and he was out on bond, and he was in some messes and in some things. And I even saw an ex-girlfriend say on Facebook that he had been abusive to her and tried to hurt her. So he had this reputation, Terry did, okay? But Terry was a good-looking man, very charming, and knew how to talk his way in and out of situations. During February of 2022, him and his girlfriend, Brittany's friend, were living together. Things had gotten bad, though. There were certain situations that happened, and it was rocky grounds, we'll say that. And on the week of February 14th, Terry attacked Brittany's friend, and it was pretty bad. It was so bad to the point that Brittany's friend was done with him. She wanted nothing else to do with him. She wanted to leave him, but they were living together, so it was very difficult. Brittany's friend made a deal with Terry, her boyfriend, that she would not call the cops or press charges on what he did to her if he would just leave. Go to Illinois where he had people at, friends or family there. Go leave, go over there, and I'll help you get back to your court date because he was out on bond, but just go there and I won't tell the cops whatever. And Terry agreed. So he left. He goes to Illinois. Terry had a court date on February 22nd to deal with these substance charges and all this, that, there, and the other. So Brittany, who I would guess, I don't know for sure, may have been the one that bonded him out. Now, if she bonded him out, she needs for him to get to court because she done signed her name on that paperwork. Now, I'm not sure. I'm just throwing that in there, trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together. But for whatever reason, she decided on February 20th, she was going to drive to Illinois, pick Terry up, bring him back to Wisconsin so he could make his court appearance on February 22nd. When she picked him up, she let Terry drive. So Terry's driving, she's in the passenger seat. They're driving back to Wisconsin, and during some point of their drive at around 9 p.m. on February 20th, Terry decided to pull over into the back of a technical college campus and grab her by the throat. She had her phone in her hand, snatched her phone out of her hand, grabbed her by her throat, began to choke her. He took his fingers, he tried to gouge her eyeballs out. He was hitting her, all of the terrible things. He got allegedly out of the car, went around to the passenger side, opened up the door, and was just wailing on her. Later on, Brittany's friend would look at text messages and try to pull the pieces of the time frame together because she kept losing consciousness. And it was later found out that she was going through this with Terry for 3 hours. So for 3 hours, he was doing these things to her. When the 3 hours was up, Brittany's friend was begging him to go pick up her daughter. She needed to pick up her daughter. Her daughter was waiting on her. So he made her put a hoodie on and put the hoodie over her face. So when she picked up her daughter could not see what he had done to her. He later held a box cutter up to her throat and told her that if she ever told anybody or said anything, he would cut her from ear to ear. And she believed it. And he meant it. Now, the next day on February 21st, she had to go to the hospital. Her injuries were too bad. And when she went to the hospital, of course, nurses, doctors, and professionals began to ask her what happened. I mean, this wasn't somebody that ran into a doorway. She was seriously injured. And after thinking about it for a bit, she decided she was going to tell because the hospital called the cops. So when the cops got there, she told the cops what happened. Well, Terry went on to miss his court date on the 22nd. He didn't go anyways. And so now Brittany's friend is pretty terrified for her life. And she talked to Brittany about it. And Brittany, being the good friend that she was there to support her in all the ways that she could. Now, Brittany nor her friend had seen Terry since that incident. And Brittany's friend assumed that he went back to Illinois where his people were because he missed his court date. So he's obviously not going to stay in town because he don't want to get arrested. That's probably what they were thinking. But Brittany's friend had not been staying in her apartment because she was terrified. She was scared. She remembered the box cutter promise that he had given her. Well, on February 27th, Brittany's friend needed to go to her apartment to get her stuff, and she thought that Terry was gone. So Brittany decided that she would go with her and take her friend. That way she could call the cops if anything ever happened. Or they were thinking that he wasn't there, but they were trying to be safe. So Brittany's friend, and Brittany's 2-year-old daughter drove to Brittany's friend's place. They looked around. They didn't see Terry. They seen no signs of him. They went inside to hurry up and gather her things. And while they were in there, Brittany's friend is gathering her things, and Brittany has her 2-year-old daughter on her shoulder, and in comes Terry through the back door. He wasn't in Illinois. He was waiting for her to come back. When he came in, he had a hammer, and he started hitting Brittany's friend with it. Now, Brittany started to try to call 911. She had her phone in her hand, but she had her daughter in the other, and she was struggling to get the phone unlocked. Of course, she's screaming, "Please stop, stop." She's holding her 2-year-old daughter, and she managed to grab a kitchen knife. And this is when Terry came over and started hitting her in the head and the face with the hammer. The damage was horrible. She managed to get away. She ran to neighbors. She couldn't get anybody to answer the door. And she ended up stumbling and falling into a local bar that was right around in that area. And she collapsed on the floor. The people that were in the bar rushed to her. I mean, she was bleeding all over the place, called 911. And when the cops came, they took both Brittany and her friend to the hospital, and they both needed staples in their heads. I mean, it was severe damage that they both suffered. A couple weeks later, which I don't know why it took a couple weeks, but nevertheless, a couple weeks later, another warrant went out for Terry's arrest, and this time for 2 attempted intentional homicides. And at this point, people are looking for him. Now, it did not go public in the news, so the news didn't speak about it, but people were talking. And of course, Brittany was terrified. I mean, she lived in her house with her 6 kids, and her 2-year-old daughter had just witnessed this whole situation. She's got all these, I think she had 27 staples in her head. I mean, she had a fractured skull. It was horrible. And when he was hitting her with a hammer, he was saying, "I'm going to kill you." Like, he was not just trying to get her out the way. He was trying to end both of them. So at this point, Brittany is absolutely terrified. It is said that Brittany looked over her shoulders constantly, that whenever she would leave her house to go to her car, she would run looking both ways. She was desperately wanting Terry to be arrested so she could feel somewhat safe. It is also said that she was in contact with the investigators on a regular basis, but that no cops ever patrolled her street to keep her or her friends safe, but she was living in fear. Now, a manhunt was out looking for Terry. They looked across 5 different states: Wisconsin, Illinois, Texas, Arizona, and Indiana. They were looking for him, but could not find him. As weeks turned into months, Brittany and her friend were still scared, but they thought maybe he had disappeared. But on April 24th, everything would change forever. Brittany, the friend of the girlfriend, not even anybody that had had a relationship with this guy or anything, a single mother living in her home, taking care of her 6 children by herself, was in her home that night. Her 13-year-old son would later say that the last time he saw his mom was at 2 a.m. when she and him, they went to bed. When her 13-year-old son woke up the next morning, he saw his 2-year-old little sister walking around in the living room in her nightgown by herself. And that wasn't like her. She was always with her mom, always on her mom's hip. So he began to look for his mom. When he went to his mom's bedroom, he saw blood on the sheets, and also saw blood on his 2-year-old baby sister's nightgown. So obviously he freaked out. This 13-year-old, extremely smart and precious little boy called 911. He began to tell the cops that his mom was gone, that, he didn't know, and they asked him questions, and they had a Ring doorbell. The 13-year-old little boy went to go look on the Ring doorbell, and this is where he saw a short clip of his mother walking out of the house with a man in a hoodie with a mask on behind her. He said one word: move. And this is the last time that Brittany would ever be seen alive again. It is alleged that Terry snuck into their home where Brittany was asleep with her 2-year-old little girl in the bed, did some terrible things to her in that bed, gruesome things that left blood behind, and then told her to go get in the car. She was going to drive him somewhere. And this is where you see him say move on the camera, and she kind of looks back. Now, something that's so sad about this is Brittany's dad, who has spoken out to the media quite a few times, said that when he saw that video of her looking back, he felt like it was his baby.
But we got him, Britt. We got him.
He keeps calling her his kid, my kid. She's 30. That is so sweet. But he said, I saw my kid looking back at me and saying, Daddy, help me. Please help me. I saw a bunch of people saying online, why didn't she run in that moment when she was outside? And I can tell you why. As a mother, because her 6 children were inside. As most of y'all know, mothers who are motherly would much rather be the one to lure the enemy away than for them to be left at the house with your children. And that's exactly what she did. The cops began to look for Brittany, and they would find her just a couple blocks away, extremely beaten and with a bullet in her head. She was dead in the front seat of her car and left there. This is when all of the allegations of Terry went public and people began to look for him. 3 women ended up being arrested for helping Terry, actually. Alicia and Carmela are accused of driving Terry to Texas after the hammer incident. Diamond, the 3rd woman that was arrested for helping Terry, allegedly drove him to her mother's house in Chicago, Illinois, for him to hide out in. Can you imagine? Let me say this. I don't know what the deal is with these 3 women. They could have been terrified. Okay. He could have threatened them. We don't really know. So I do want to give them the benefit of the doubt until the facts come out. But it's so scary to think about driving, like your older mother. I mean, I don't know her mother, but I'm just thinking if she's a grown woman in her 30s or, whatever, her mother's older than that, right? And when your kid calls you and says, hey, my friend needs a place to stay, and you open your doors to them, you have no idea that this person is a murderer. Nevertheless, the cops did end up finding out where he was in Chicago, Illinois. And when they showed up to the house, he had a gun in the window showing them, and there was a standoff between him and the cops. There ended up being a negotiation. We don't know what the negotiation is yet, but he surrendered and they arrested him.
I'm upset about a lot of things, but worse, but it's over. They got him. So let's see what system we're gonna do.
Yeah. Now, the investigator on this case said that there was a confession, okay? That don't mean too much, because now he's in court and he has pled not guilty and he's got 2 public defenders. Now, I went down the Facebook rabbit hole with this, looking at all the family members' posts, and God bless every one of them, because they loved Brittany, and they still do. And they're taking care of her kids. It seems like so many people are rallying around these 6 babies. It's amazing in a way that it should never have to be, like a situation that should never have to happen, but the family and the friends and the community has really come together. I saw one of her cousins post on Facebook that when they went to court, he was smirking and smiling at them. Like, how disgusting. And my Patreons requested this, and one of my Patreons was wanting to know how I thought he could confess and then still get a trial and get a public defender. Well, that's just the way it works. Like, the confession doesn't mean a whole lot right now. It only would mean something if he signed away a plea deal or signed away his rights, kind of like Chris Watts did. That's what Chris Watts did. Chris Watts confessed, but then he also signed that paperwork. And there's a reason for that, and it's actually a good reason. There are certain situations where people confess to things that they didn't really do. There are situations where people can be even bullied into a confession, and so they're going to have to take that part to trial. And this guy, Terry, especially the fact that he was smirking and smiling at the family, like no remorse. Even the prosecutor said there is no remorse from him. He had no remorse for anything that he did or the fact that he left these 6 babies without a mother that loved them and that was there for them. Oh, and Terry's got kids too, and I feel for them. But these 3 women that helped him, I don't know what's going to happen to them. I'm going to be very curious to see why they helped him. Was it a situation where they liked him and they just, because allegedly the 2 women that drove him to Texas after the hammer incident, they knew what he did. Now, we don't know about the 3rd woman, but allegedly they knew that he had beat these 2 women in the head with a hammer, and they were in the hospital with staples in their heads. So I don't know. That's the situation. And it is so devastatingly sad. I mean, Brittany was literally just trying to help her friend that was in this bad situation. And I think a lot of us have been there. It's just so not fair. It's so upsetting. And if any of y'all are in an abusive relationship, man, woman, this is your sign to get out. This is your sign, because this type of thing happens every day. But in this case, it wasn't even the girlfriend who lost her life. It was the friend. Horrible. I can only imagine how devastated the friend must feel too. I hope that she can heal and move on with her life as well, but I can only imagine how this probably haunts her every day. And it's just sad. So have y'all heard about this case? What do you think? Let me know in the comments section down below. Other than that, you guys have a wonderful weekend. I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see y'all next week. Bye.
We are dreaming in the dark. We are nothing more than dust. Search but you stay lost. We are